Welcome back to the 3 and Out podcast, episode 3 of season 2. Brett Schaubs, always delighted to be joined by Ben Pope and Mike Giacchetti. We've officially wrapped up both our AFC and NFC season predictions. Before it is time for actual football to be played, week 1 is actually tomorrow as of this recording going on air. It's not an episode without the annual bell ringing. Yeah, as Ben shakes his head, he has gotten well sick of it. But moving forward, it is kickoff eve, and what better way to celebrate the beginning of the season by predicting our awards for this year. We have a whole list. Each of us have prepared from MVP all the way down to the must-watch game for week 1. And we're going to run through each one and see how accurate our predictions now line up to what the actual results will be come Super Bowl weekend and what the NFL honors will present. So, fellas, if you are ready, let's kick into it.
Yeah, and we'll be back in like 8-9 weeks with our midseason award predictions as well, or our midseason awards. I think
midseason awards is the proper phrasing of it, Michael.
Right. So that'll be interesting to look back. I'm gonna keep these noted.
As will I. But moving forward here, let's jump into the first award, and that is the Offensive Player of the Year. This one was a bit of a doozy last year. Not many people saw Cooper Kupp taking home the award in the beginning, but as the season went on, it quickly progressed to be true. I don't know about you two, but I have somebody different than Cooper Kupp winning it this year. Mike, why don't you start us out? Who do you have winning Offensive Player of the Year?
I'm just going to say his name, and I don't think he requires any other really reasoning for it. I have Justin Jefferson as my Offensive Player of the Year. New coach. He has actually Cooper Kupp's old offensive coordinator, and just seeing how Justin Jefferson has been working in camp and the different packages we've been seeing him in, I just think his value is going to go to the moon. And Ben nailed it on the head when he said that Justin Jefferson will be wide receiver 1 this time next year. My clear OPOY is Justin Jefferson.
Guess I'll go next. Didn't say I called it, but I called it. I didn't know that Kevin O'Connell was going to fully give Justin Jefferson the Cooper Kupp role. He has said that numerous times. He's gone on multiple podcasts as well, just reiterating that he is fully giving Jay Jettas the Cooper Kupp role that Kupp previously received in the Rams offense, which pretty much means the offense will run through him. They are leaning towards a more pass-heavy offense. I just love everything that's coming out of Vikings camp. There's been a lot of negativity in the past, just with previous head coaching, with the previous regime. It seems like O'Connell's really gotten Jefferson into the right mindset, and honestly think that the way that Cooper Kupp ran his season last year and the opportunities that he got, say Jefferson gets the same exact thing. Jefferson is younger. He's more athletic. I would say he's faster. I would say he runs better routes. Like, he pretty much has a leg up on Kupp in almost every asset. So, yeah, I'm easily taking Justin Jefferson here as my Offensive Player of the Year. Yeah.
Well, why don't we make it a full sweep? I also have Justin Jefferson as my Offensive Player of the Year. You guys both pretty much nailed it on the head, so I won't go into full extent here. But if what Kevin O'Connell is saying, if it holds to be true, similar to what Ben was alluding to, I could absolutely see Jefferson going off on an absolute tear this year. As Ben mentioned as well, the Vikings are sort of leaning towards an air raid style offense, working with Jefferson, Thielen, and KJ Osborne in the mix as those primary 3. Between those two guys, Jefferson is not only the one that stays the most healthy, he's a better route runner, and he is faster. He's got the age advantage. He's going to be all over the place. He's someone that can work the slot a little bit as well. So, I mean, I could basically see a Cooper Kupp 2.0 season right here from Jefferson, if not better. And I think it's a clear cut who's winning Offensive Player of the Year.
I have a quick question here, and I don't want to sound too bullish by throwing out like any numbers predictions or anything, but this is just a straight up question. Any non-quarterbacks in the league that you would take over Justin Jefferson on your team? Like just for this season?
As
Yes.
far as like offensive players?
Just in general. Any players. Because I think
Yes.
TJ Watt is the only one that I would take clearly.
I would take Aaron Donald.
I was just about to say Aaron Donald or Micah Parsons. Micah
Okay.
Parsons is definitely considered.
I honestly, I am super bullish on Jefferson. I think he is probably going to be like one of the most valuable players in the league this year. I have too much confidence in the player. Yeah, I don't know. I just want to throw that out there. Maybe I'll say just offensive players. Anyone that you take over Jefferson? Obviously not, because you have him offensive player of the year. But
No.
I think JT is going to be an immense value to the Colts as a whole, but as far as offense, I think Justin Jefferson provides more value. I think there's a lot more like dynamics with Jefferson as opposed to Taylor.
I only threw out the first question because the way we've seen the Super Bowl run, at least I would say the past 3 years with Kansas City, Tampa Bay, and this past year with the Rams, their most valuable asset in mainly their playoff runs has been their quarterback and receiving core. So I was just curious because I think not to allude anything to anything we have for future awards, but I don't know. Just out of curiosity there.
It just goes to show how. I mean, yeah, he's our offensive player of the year for a reason, is what it boils down to. Yeah. BC, you want to kick us off with our next one?
Yeah, let's jump into defensive player of the year now. Last year it was TJ Watt who took home the award. I believe it was actually the first one he's ever gotten in his career, defensive player of the year.
Yeah.
So Ben, why don't you start us off with this one? Who do we see taking home defensive player of the year to start the season?
So I kind of wanted to go a little bit off the board this year, even though I do think the two probable favorites are TJ Watt and Myles Garrett, who are fighting for the award last year. I'm going with Nick Bosa from the 49ers. I'm a really big fan of Nick Bosa. I think that he's been deteriorated the past couple years. He had that really bad injury that he suffered in New York just a couple years ago. He was kind of recovering from that injury this past year and still provided arguably a top 5 edge season.
Yeah, for sure.
Just from all players in the NFL. I honestly think we really haven't been able to see the peak of Bosa's performance. And I don't know. Myles Garrett has been like close to his peak, I would say, if not at it. And same thing with TJ Watt. I don't think there's any duplicating his previous season. So I don't know. I want to go with a little bit of a dark horse pick here. I think that he's going to be the focal point of the entire 49ers defense, along with Fred Warner. Whoopsie there.
Right.
And that's probably the backbone of the 49ers team.
Yeah.
I don't know. So just because how much value provides to the 49ers and that I do think it'll be tough for Watt and Garrett to repeat, I'm going to go with Nick Bosa.
Brett?
Yeah, I'll jump into it. I also have sort of a dark horse pick. I have Micah Parsons winning it this year. If you take a look at the Cowboys' schedule and the offensive lines that he's going to be matching up with through the entire year, let's just look at the division just to start. Other than the Eagles, like he's playing either mediocre or subpar offensive lines 4 times out of the 6 as far as division. After that, I could realistically see Parsons putting up. He had 13 last year. I could see 15 this year. Do I think he could win it? Yes. But again, it's a Cowboys defense that's sort of on the either low. I really don't know what to make of the Cowboys defense this year. That whole team as itself is a question mark. But the only thing I know for sure is that I know Micah Parsons is going to be a big enough factor. And something in my gut just tells me that he's going to have one of those monster seasons we've seen before from an outside linebacker hybrid. So I'm going to go with Micah Parsons here.
I think he's definitely going to get a lot more opportunity, especially with the departure of Randy Gregory.
Yep, absolutely.
I think you're going to see him a lot on the edge. No surprise, I have Myles Garrett. as mine. I just think this is his year. He's been in contention for the past few years and just hasn't been able to get it. Kind of like what TJ Watt was before he won it. He was in contention 2 or 3 years prior to actually winning it. I think this is Myles Garrett's year. He is the guy on the strong Browns defense, kind of lacking when it comes to defensive tackles. And I'm not a fan of the linebacker core outside of JOK, really. Yeah, I just think this is Myles Garrett's year to win it, really. Defensive player of the year. Puts up a lot of sack numbers, and I think he will continue to do that very much still in his prime.
All right, so offensive player of the year, we swept the board, Justin Jefferson. Defensive player of the year, a little bit different. So we'll see how sort of that pattern will either continue or go back to before with offensive rookie of the year. Last year, it was Jamar Chase. There was no surprise at all with the absolute insane production that he had with Cincinnati. We now go to this year, a bit of a different class, a lot of rookies working with either on the coming or developing teams. We'll start with Mike again here. Who do we see as offensive rookie of the year?
I got Dameon Pierce. I just feel like that's such a go-to answer, especially because of how you've seen him in the preseason and everyone really hopping onto the Dameon Pierce bandwagon. But when I look around the league, I just think that Dameon Pierce, he is the lead back for Houston. He's going to get a ton of carries, I believe, behind that offensive line. Yeah. I mean, the receivers are enticing. I was looking at a few of the receivers, but at the end of the day, I just think Dameon Pierce will be that workhorse back. Reminds me of Javonte Williams' running style, really, that just bully ball that he plays. And I think that's going to be a bright spot in the Houston Texans offense.
Yeah, this one was one of the more difficult ones for me. Up until recent reports came out of Chiefs camp that Sky Moore was going to be the wide receiver 4. I actually was considering Sky Moore for this, but it actually kind of transitioned me to another guy here. I kind of was thinking about two things here with the Rookie of the Year candidates: opportunity and talent. DPOY, I went with talent. This one I went with opportunity, and I have Jalen Tolbert. I think Jalen Tolbert has a really good chance to start out the year as the clear number 2, not only receiver, but just option for Dak Prescott in the offense behind CeeDee Lamb. And one thing that I don't think a lot of people are mentioning, just because a lot of people are just proceeding that CeeDee Lamb's going to pop off, just because he is assuming the number 1 role from Amari Cooper, was that CeeDee Lamb honestly could have done that last year. Amari Cooper missed quite a number of games. Plus, Dalton Schultz wasn't really much of a target monster. He's a very solid number 2 option in the Dallas offense, but he wasn't anything too crazy. And CeeDee Lamb really didn't take that opportunity. So just in case that CeeDee Lamb doesn't take the ascension that a lot of people do think, even without that, I think Jalen Tolbert is in for north of 120 targets in this offense. You're not going to see Michael Gallup come back until at least week 5, just because he's probably going to be put on the IR, just because he's still recovering from his torn ACL suffered back in December. I think he has plenty of opportunity. I think he's going to be a very good receiver, minus Amari Cooper in that offense, minus Cedric Wilson as well going over to Miami. I think he's going to have plenty of opportunity. I think he's a very solid talent as well. And I think he's going to be peppered with targets from Dak. So I have Jalen Tolbert as my OPOY.
OROY.
OROY. Excuse me.
So many abbreviations.
Oh, boy.
Yeah. Oh, boy is right.
Oh, boy is right.
I like that pick. That's like a dark horse pick.
It is a dark horse.
But you made a lot of good points with it. Brett, who you got?
I've got a bit more of a bold pick here.
Okay.
I'm taking George Pickens from the Steelers.
I love it.
The reasoning is because of trends and like the patterns the Steelers have had in the last 3 seasons. If you go all the way back, you start with Smith-Schuster, right? As a rookie, Roethlisberger loved to target Smith-Schuster. He was getting upwards of, as Ben mentioned, like around 110, 120 targets in that offense. And he was fighting with Antonio Brown at the time when he was still with the Steelers, a massive target monster for Roethlisberger. Fast forward a little bit, You have Chase Claypool. Chase Claypool comes in as a rookie, sort of takes away some targets from Deontay Johnson and James Washington in the Steelers offense. Fast forward to this year, you not only have Claypool back and Deontay Johnson, you lost James Washington. So now you bring in George Pickens. The reports from camp have been phenomenal with this kid. He has played a great outside receiver. Trubisky, Rudolph, Pickett, they all love him. He's had a great work mentality. I definitely see this kid getting a good amount of opportunity in the Steelers offense. And if one of those two receivers of Johnson or Claypool go down, this kid's going to break out, and I have no doubts that he's going to go nuts.
He is a freak athlete. Shout out RC Pickens.
Yep. A villain, an absolute villain. All right, so some more difference in offensive rookie of the year. So ever since offensive player of the year, we have split up. We now move to defensive rookie of the year. This one might be a little more clear cut because of the class from this year. A little bit different in the top 10, but we'll see what we go with here. I'll start this one out. I have Sauce Gardner as my defensive rookie of the year. I have him with opportunity in this Jets defense. You lost Marcus May. He's sort of now presuming that, I don't want to say lead defensive back, but he's going to have a big snap share with Robert Saleh in the Jets defense. You could argue Derek Stingley as well with Houston and the amount of opportunity, but I actually think Sauce Gardner is going to have a lot of opportunity and a lot of challenge ahead of him, and I think he's going to succeed. So I have Sauce Gardner as my defensive rookie of the year.
I want to make a point about that after we all share, so just so I don't forget. Ben, do you want to go ahead?
Sure. I'm a little shocked by that one. I have Aiden Hutchinson. This kid is like very clearly made for the NFL already. I've seen limited stuff from not only from the preseason, but I've been watching Hard Knocks as well. So I've been able to kind of get in the mindset of how Hutchinson has been coming up and how he's feeling with the Lions. This kid looks legitimate already, and I still don't know how he didn't go number 1 overall. This kid is honestly the level that I'm seeing him at is the level that I saw Nick Bosa when he came out as a rookie, which was already close to like top 10 in his position, maybe even higher. This kid seems very legitimate. And I think, like Brett mentioned, with opportunity, but also with talent, this kid is raw talent. And he's also got like very much an awareness of what he needs to do in this Lions defense. I think he's honestly going to be able to kind of bring them up a little bit, see if him and maybe some of the other pieces can actually make this a more formidable defense in a division with solid offenses with the Vikings and Green Bay. I think Hutchinson is probably favorite here, and I'm going to go with him.
Yeah, I got Hutchinson as well. I think that is the safe pick. It was the safe pick of the draft, but he was the number 2 pick to Detroit. He is the guy on the defensive line. He will be. And I just think he will, like Ben mentioned, very, very pro-ready player. The point I wanted to make, though, was when I was actually making this list and thinking of defensive rookie of the year, obviously you think of Sauce Gardner, you think of Derek Stingley too. It made me curious because I was like, how many cornerbacks have won defensive rookie of the year?
That was another.
There have only been 2 cornerbacks since 1998 that have won it, and that was in 98, Charles Woodson won it, and then in 2015, Marcus Peters won it. In 2017, Marshawn Lattimore won it. I'm not saying if there's any player to do it, I think Sauce could definitely do it because he is being raved about, especially in college, never letting up a touchdown. I just think the game just changes drastically. College to the NFL, especially for a cornerback. Probably, I would say I think the cornerback is the toughest position in the league. But that would be really, really cool to see Sauce win it, though.
If Sauce wins it, it's a testament to who he is as a player and how he transitions to the league. I had Hutchinson as my runner-up just to make that clear. I've been watching a lot of film on this kid as well, and he is legit. Like, I could genuinely see him winning Defensive Player of the Year 2 years from now. Like, I think he's that legit. But yeah, I honestly think Sauce will win it this year. It's a bit of a bold take, but we're gonna go with the risk to start.
You know who else I was looking at, honestly? Quay Walker, the Packers linebacker. I think the Packers defense is beautiful.
The only thing with that is, Mike, I think he could somewhat go unnoticed just because he has so many pieces around him on that D line.
Right. How I look at it, though, is if you have a player and he's playing obviously next to Rashawn Gary, just Rashawn Gary will get double teamed, will give him more opportunities, inflate his numbers. So you look at that side of it. I kind of look at the, you know what I'm saying, the positive side of their numbers could be inflated because they're not, the opposing teams aren't worried so much about the rookie rather than the actual big name guy on the defense. But
I laugh at that because like Dallas had the same effect last year, but they were double teaming Micah instead of Randy Gregory.
Right.
It just shows the type of player that Micah is. And
it's insane. I actually think Randy's actually going to get the double team treatment this year. I don't think Chubb's going to get taken as seriously as people see. But we'll see what happens.
Agreed.
Moving forward, comeback player of the year. There are a lot of candidates for this award.
There's only one. There's only one.
All right. If you're so adamant, Mike, go for it.
Ben's pointing to himself.
I was so tunnel visioned on this. If it's not Christian McCaffrey, then who? This kid is the best player at the running back position. He has been slandered, improperly so, being called injury riddled because he has suffered minor injuries that have just built up and built up and built up. He is the most athletic running back I've been able to watch since I've started watching football in the past 5 to 6 years. No one can catch the ball like him. He's still working in a terrible offensive scheme in Carolina, but he's still able to make it work. He had 2 of the best running back seasons to date since like the early 2000s. If it's not Christian McCaffrey, then who? He's got an upgraded quarterback in Baker Mayfield, which even like last year you thought it was upgrade with Sam Darnold. So going to Baker, who's an average quarterback at best, that's already an upgrade. He still has DJ Moore, Robbie Anderson. The O-line's getting a little bit better, and the defense is still young, talented, and they're hungry. So I think with all those pieces around him, Christian McCaffrey has the ability, once again, if still given his Christian McCaffrey workload, which only he gets, I think he'll be very much the comeback player of the year.
Brad, did you have the same?
I also have the same. I do have a point though after. Mike, did you have McCaffrey?
I didn't have McCaffrey. So go ahead, make your point, and I'll jump into mine.
He didn't have McCaffrey. Okay.
He knew I did though.
I'm gonna preface this. Up until like 10, 15 minutes ago, I was really contemplating this award because I genuinely think it's between 2 people. I gave it to McCaffrey, but I also think Saquon's a legitimate candidate for this role. I understand like the Giants' offensive line is like it's not good, but it's a lot better than what it was when Saquon came into the league. You added Andrew Thomas, you added a bunch of other young pieces that are going to help fit into this scheme. I think making Brian Dable your head coach is going to allow for a lot more different looks for Saquon and give him different opportunities. And if he stays healthy through at least, we'll call it 14 out of the 17 games of the year, I seriously think he could win comeback player of the year. If we see rookie numbers out of Saquon Barkley like we saw from him 3 years ago, there's no doubt in my mind he puts up a shot for this award. I originally had Saquon, and then just going back and forth, I gave it to McCaffrey just because of the amount of work that McCaffrey gets. But I think Saquon's a legit one too.
Yeah, I mean, and the Giants have the best offensive line in how long? Because you have Andrew Thomas, you have Evan Neal, who projects to be a beast. Overall. They also signed Mark Lewinsky from the Colts in the offseason, which I think was a big get as well. So their offensive line is getting stronger.
Where are you at, Michael?
I got Jameis Winston.
Of course he does. This is such a Mike pick.
Go.
This is such a Mike pick.
I get
Elaborate.
Jameis Winston, right? So
I had a feeling.
last last season before, hold on, let me get his numbers up. I should have had this prepared for you guys. But last season he played about, so unprepared of me. 7 games, right? 5-2 in those games, 14 touchdowns, 3 picks. Okay. Couldn't tell you the projections on that. I don't want to take any longer. He is now going into his 3rd season with the Saints, I believe, 2nd as a starter.
Yep.
He is running with Michael Thomas, Jarvis Landry, Chris Olave. Strong receiver group, better, much better than last season. Kamara, you know what that offensive line is. It's the strong offense, me also being very high on the Saints. It's me wanting to put Jameis Winston as an MVP contender. And it's my bias towards Jameis Winston in doing this. But, you know, I had to go more humble. I didn't want to give him the MVP award. So we had to settle for comeback player of the year for Jameis Winston.
This man actually put Jameis Winston and MVP in the same sentence. I mean, respect, but like, that is a very bold take.
I'll be honest. Since the last episode, I've done a little bit more work into the Saints. I need to do like a little bit more research into their coaching staff ads, but I'm not hating it.
I don't think it's crazy. And it could just be me because every single season I talk myself into a team. Like last year was Carolina. The year before was Cleveland, I believe. This year, the Saints. But I don't think Carolina and Cleveland teams even sniff the Saints when it comes to talent on the team. I have very high, very, very high hopes on the Saints. And I think Jameis Winston is a new quarterback. They have Dennis Allen, obviously Sean Payton leaving makes some people a little weary, but I just think Dennis Allen keeping basically the whole offensive staff around. I'm not worried much at all about the Saints regressing. I think they're going to improve drastically.
All right. So we have Jameis Winston on Mike's end. We have Christian McCaffrey on Ben and I's end. Almost what thought was a clear cut. Mike comes in with a surprise. Not really a surprise, but we settle this. Moving on. Coach of the year.
Ooh.
This is an interesting one. There are a lot of candidates very similar to Offensive Player of the Year, Defensive Player of the Year a little bit ago. Ben, if you want to start this one off again.
I don't.
You don't? Okay, you know what? I'll start this one off.
Ooh.
I have Kyle Shanahan winning Coach of the Year. Here's why. If Kyle Shanahan is able to mentor Trey Lance to a division-winning team, to me, that speaks testament on carrying not only Trey Lance as a first-year starter to a division win, but carrying the 49ers as a whole, who are down already from a conference loss last year in the championship to the Rams, all the way over Arizona and LA, who are so high this year. I think that could speak volumes. He's due for a big Coach of the Year season. I see it from Shanahan now, and I think it's going to happen. So I got Kyle Shanahan.
That's actually a solid pick.
Michael?
I like that. I actually have 3 names written down here, but one that sticks out. I have Kevin O'Connell. This really goes in stride with my record predictions in having Minnesota leading the NFC at 13-4, and I think just record plays a big part in who wins Coach of the Year. First year coaches, I think, also get more looks. First year coach Justin Jefferson, we really talked about how that's going to change. I think they're going to look beautiful offensively, and Kevin O'Connell is my Coach of the Year pick.
So I also have Kevin O'Connell, but I want to use my time to talk about my runner-up, who I have fallen in love with. who is Mike McDaniel of the Miami Dolphins.
I love
This
pick.
guy is such a weird individual, but I love him for it. He seems like an offensive genius. First of all, a disciple of Kyle Shanahan. And just listening to him talk about some of the points and pieces that he added to this offseason, Miami is going to be such an interesting team, and I really think they will click. They're a team that I'm very high on, and you'll be able to see that with some stuff later. But man, I think he's going to be able to utilize weapons like Tyreek Hill and Jalen Waddle to their complete best. And I think that even though Miami was a very close team and a solid team under Brian Flores, I think Mike McDaniel is the correct person to helm this team. Even though I do have Kevin O'Connell winning the award and very much to the same points that Mike had, just because I have them with such a high record, I think he'll do a solid job. I would not sleep on Mike McDaniel at all for this award.
That's definitely an interesting take. He was in my considerations as well, just because of the very similar traits to Kyle Shanahan. But you guys, Kevin O'Connell, myself, Kyle Shanahan.
Brett, did you have any runner-ups or anyone else in
runner-ups?
consideration besides Mike McDaniel?
If
you don't have to think, I was just curious because I have 2 written under Kevin O'Connell.
I personally didn't, other than Mike McDaniel, but you all brought great points on O'Connell. So we rest our case there. So we've gone through Offensive Player of the Year, Defensive Player of the Year, Offensive Rookie, Defensive Rookie, Comeback Player, and Coach of the Year. Those are the awards we have covered so far. If you're just joining us now, we now move to the next award. We have 2 directions we can go. Do we want to go most surprising team, or do we want to go MVP now?
We'll hold off on the MVP.
Hold MVP. MVP will be the last one.
All right.
We'll go with the most surprising team, BC. And you know what? I'll just keep the train going because I have Miami as my most surprising team. So a lot of things are going on with Miami, right? They had arguably one of the worst offensive lines last year. They have worked on upgrading that in the offseason. I don't think it is like in that top half yet, but is well improved. Mm-hmm. They had arguably the worst running back group last year. They had a Raheem Mostert, Chase Edmonds. They did add Sony Michel, but he ended up getting cut. So their lead backs of Savon Ahmed and Myles Gaskin, they go to 3 and 4 on the depth chart. Automatic upgrade. They added Tyreek Hill, who is viewed across the league as one of the most valuable assets on any team in the NFL. And they added Mike McDaniel, who, like I just mentioned, is one of my favorite coaches to win Coach of the Year. With their already solid defense, they've added a whole bunch of names on the coaching staff that McDaniel has been very high on talking about. I'm really excited about this Miami team. I think that they aren't giving the fair shot that they honestly deserve. Even though I do have Buffalo winning the division, everyone's just saying it's 100 to 0 chance for anyone else to win that division. I would disagree. I think Miami does have a fair chance, and we're going to see that very soon into the regular season. I have Miami as my most surprising team.
Mike?
I'm just get it over with. I have the Saints. Yeah, I mean for all the points I've mentioned before for Jameis Winston comeback player of the year, I'm going to be preaching to the choir about the Saints this year, and I would say I hope I'm right, but I know I'm going to be right. So, yeah. Another team I also had was the Vikings, just because of the record I gave them. And I did all of this with my record predictions in mind. So the Saints and Vikings also had Miami listed because they're very, very interesting to me. Brett, please.
I got the Lions. I have the Lions as my most surprising team. I was speaking very highly on them in our NFC season preview. And I honestly think if they can mesh this offense together going through the first half of the season, I think they can make a little bit of noise for the wild card spot in the NFC. You made an improvement on the offensive line. You made a couple additions to the offense. You added DJ Chark. You added Jamison Williams when he returns from that ACL injury he suffered in the playoffs last year in college football. You still have second-year receiver Amon-Ra St. Brown, who I am extremely high on, just to say the least. And then
Yeah,
you mentioned
that's saying the least too.
yeah, it is saying the least. But you
Surprised
added
you kept it
Hutchinson.
that humble too. Kept it short and sweet with Amon-Ra.
Words can't describe how much I love the Lions this year and the coaching staff and just everything coming together. I could see Jared Goff really being a leader for this team. And if they make the playoffs, it honestly wouldn't surprise me like at much at all. I think they're going to make noise, and that's what surprises me. But if they make the playoffs eventually and take down teams like the Saints, like the Cowboys, I don't know. It just intrigues me. It intrigues me.
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
That's why they're your most they're not most intriguing team. They're most improved, but or most surprising. Jesus Christ, I'm
Most surprised.
all over the place. Guess I'm looking ahead.
I think Dan Campbell has made the Lions a very, very likable team.
Oh, absolutely.
He's made them relevant.
Because the Lions, you think about the Lions, it's just a piece of garbage. And even with Stafford, like, yeah, he's got an absolute cannon. He was great with Detroit, but like, it's Detroit. But with Dan Campbell, everyone besides division rivals, right, want to see them succeed.
All right. Most disappointing team. Oh boy. I'll
Brett,
start
us off. Yeah.
I got the Jets, man. My most disappointing team.
Okay.
I know.
Okay. Hold on. Before you jump into it, how did you go about choosing most disappointing? Because for me, I chose based off of last season's record and basically like the outlook on or the prediction on how this season would go.
I did the exact same thing, just so you know, Mike.
Because so you're basically choosing just how the Jets are projected to be.
I'm choosing the Jets in this scenario based on the additions they've made in the offseason, plus coaching staff, plus the projection that they're going as far as improvement. I thought they made a lot of additions this year that have put them in a position to be better, but something tells me they're just going to let down people like they have the last two seasons. I think a big factor is just going to be injuries and trying to stay healthy. I also don't trust Zach Wilson. Like, I honestly think he's a bust. Like, that's just my personal opinion. But I haven't really given him a fair shot yet. We'll see how he does. But going into the season, I think the Jets are going to be a big disappointment. I know it's a low ball, but
what are you? Okay, so you chose most disappointing based off of how people think they will do this year.
Based off how much people think they're going to improve this year and like how much they've added in the hype that's going around.
I gotcha.
Okay. I'll go next. I have the Titans.
Oh, that's good.
They're going from the number one seed, in my opinion, to completely out of the playoffs and maybe second to last or last in their division. News just came out a couple days ago that Harold Landry tore his ACL, and even before that, I thought they were maybe down in the dumps. Their defense is looking a little bit worse as time has gone on. Without Harold Landry, that's going to be even worse. You're pretty much looking at Kevin Byard and the D-line, and that's pretty much it because their cornerback room is not great.
I actually like offense, but continue.
That was one of their biggest weaknesses last year, and I don't know if they improved it that much. Like, they have Caleb Farley, and maybe he's able to put up a good season if healthy. But yeah, aside from those guys on defense, they have Derrick Henry on offense, and who else? Treylon Burks has been apparently a big disappointment in preseason thus far. Robert Woods is their number one receiver. He's coming off an ACL tear and is in his 30s. Then they have Nick Westbrook-Akina. It's not looking great, guys. And it's bad that I'm even considering the Texans and the Jags over them. But I honestly am. I don't see I don't see Mike Vrabel being able to carry this team to another playoff spot. Unfortunately, they've got too many holes on the team, and I really can't see how they overcome it. So they're my biggest disappointment.
That's a good pick. My most disappointing team is the Arizona Cardinals, going from a playoff team last season, and I don't have the highest of hopes for them this year. I had them predicted at 7-10, obviously missing the playoffs. I think the DeAndre Hopkins suspension is going to hurt big for the first 6 weeks. You do have Hollywood, you have Rondale, but I'm not a fan of their offensive line much at all. And I'm not a fan of James Conner being the lead back. Could be just me, but just and their defense is, you have 59-year-old JJ Watt. You traded for Trayvon Mullen, and you also have Byron Murphy in the cornerback room, Zaven Collins, Isaiah Simmons, linebackers. I do like their safety duo, however, in Jalen Thompson and Budda Baker as well. I don't know. Just something gives me a weird feeling that they just won't be able to click this season. And yeah, Arizona is my most disappointing team. I think their playoff game against the Rams this past season will be the epitome of how their season goes this year. Not well.
It's honestly a valid take, and I'm not gonna lie, I don't have high hopes for Arizona either, but we all vary for this one, so a bit of some difference in most disappointing team. And now we bring a little bit of our approach to most improved, starting with the most improved team. We'll move into the most improved player afterward. Who wants to start out the most improved team here?
I mean, I'll get the monkey off my back right now. It's going to be Minnesota. Minnesota arguably played, or not arguably played, they did play in the most one-possession games and took the loss in a decent chunk of them. And with the improvements that they have made this offseason, plus the coaching swap from Mike Zimmer to Kevin O'Connell, I think with just a couple flips of L's to W's like they had last year, they easily become a playoff team. And with the high expectations that I do have, not only for their offense, but just for their defense to take a step better, just because they have more healthy option and just more options in general this year, I think they're going to be one of my favorite teams to take that kind of leap forward. It says something that I have this much confidence in them to even past the Packers. I think it's just a difference of Minnesota being able to have reliable guys on that offense like Cook, Jefferson, and Thielen, whereas Green Bay is probably going to be looking for that the first couple weeks, aside from their running backs and Jones and Dillon. So I have a lot of confidence in the Vikings. I think Kevin O'Connell is going to be able to kind of right the ship in Minnesota and make them the playoff caliber team that they were not just a few years ago. So my most improved team is Minnesota.
Mike?
My most improved team is the Baltimore Ravens. And that's just basically getting all your guys back healthy, really. They won the draft, in my opinion. You get Lamar back for a healthy season. I think he's also on a big revenge tour this year with his whole contract situation. High hopes for the Baltimore Ravens. I have them as my division winners, and going from last or tied for last in the division to worst to first in the AFC North. I had to give the nod to the Baltimore Ravens. Didn't want to give Minnesota too much love. Didn't want to give them too much love.
They have definitely been getting a lot of love in this award show.
100%.
I love the Ravens pick. I'm going with Miami here as my most improved team, just because of the amount of improvement they've made on the offense, going from what Ben described just a little while ago, having Salvin Ahmed and Myles Gaskin as your 1-2 to now Chase Edmonds and Raheem Mostert. Like, to me, that automatically screams upgrade. You now add probably one of, if not the most valuable addition to the offense in Tyreek Hill, plus Cedric Wilson. You bring Jalen Waddle back another year stronger. You also added one of, if not the best tackle in the league in Teron Armstead to help guard Tagovailoa. All of that together.
One of.
What's up?
One of.
Yes, one of the best tackles in the league. But at the end of the day, the Dolphins, to me, I love the improvements that they've made, and I love the hype that's going into the season. So I'm going with them as my most improved team. So we've got the Vikings, the Ravens, and the Dolphins. That now brings us to most improved player. I have Trevor Lawrence as my most improved player going into the season. Just to preface why I chose this, just going through Lawrence's stats from last year, a little over 3,600 yards. And then his touchdown to interception ratio was 12-17. He tied for the most interceptions with Matthew Stafford just as a rookie quarterback. It's a big trend, especially with high pick quarterbacks that are sort of thrown to the wolves. We've seen it with Peyton Manning. We saw it with Jared Goff a little bit in his opening season with the Rams. I sort of expect Trevor Lawrence to take a big leap here, especially with Doug Peterson as his head coach. I think the system and the amount of opportunity around him is much better than last year. And I think he's sort of going to get more into his groove, and we're going to see a lot more of the Trevor Lawrence that we saw as a Clemson standout 2 years ago. So I have Trevor Lawrence as my pick here.
I'll jump right in after you because I also have Big Trev as my most improved for all the points you said. Don't want to waste any more time in saying so, but I just think that his upgrade at the coaching job is, really nailed the point home for me. So yeah, we both have Trevor Lawrence. Ben?
So I also have a quarterback, but it is not from that part of Florida. It is from
He's got
Miami, and I have Tua Tagovailoa. So Tua, in his first 2 years in the NFL, has been pretty underwhelming. He has been remarked as ungifted at the position, mediocre, not
That's
special.
hurtful.
I think that's completely false. He has been dealing with a coaching staff that arguably didn't want him. Brian Flores was trying to start Fitz over him multiple times, and it didn't seem like him and Tua really connected at any point. It seemed like it was mainly an ownership move that they wanted Tua. Tua's been improving slightly from year one and year two, mainly in regards to his completion percentage and his deep ball accuracy. And those two things are going to be really great when it comes to having Jalen Waddle and Tyreek Hill as your 1 and 2 options in the offense. I think that's something that improves with the O-line improving as well, really helps. And having a solid run game is a great asset to any quarterback. And I think that's going to be something that really helps out Tua, especially with the fact that Chase Edmonds is a really good pass catching back. And Tua, even though he has a great deep ball, does like to throw it short sometimes. That was kind of the offense that was designed by him. I'm really interested to see how McDaniel really flushes out the offense using Tua, but I think there's a really high upside to Tua this year. I think there's a solid chance that he finishes upwards of like 25 touchdowns, given how many opportunities to throw each game. And I honestly think that by season's end, he can creep into that top 12 quarterback range, especially with the improvements that he has around him.
That's nice.
I was going to say, very well said. So both Florida quarterbacks are selected. Me and Mike take Trevor. Ben takes Tua Tagovailoa. I almost said Tua turned the ball over. That's some disrespect. No offense to Tua Tagovailoa. Man.
You picked the guy that had most turnovers in the league. You were going to say that about Tua?
Jeez. Bad slip up. But nonetheless, we move on. We have one more category before our most valuable player will pick, and that's must-watch game for week 1. I'm going to give this one to Ben because he has been rearing up for this one. Ben, what is your must-watch game in the first week of the season?
I guess I've been rearing up for this one. I didn't know it. I've been talking about Miami a lot, and they're going to be on full focus in this week 1 game at home against New England. I think that Miami is going to honestly dominate this game. I'm really concerned about some of the things I've seen out of New England's camp. They've been trying to work a different offense than the previous one that they've used under Josh McDaniels as the offensive coordinator. And it doesn't seem like Mac Jones has been working out very well. Even though I do think New England's going to be able to right the ship, I'm really concerned about how they play in the first couple games. And in Miami, where New England and Bill Belichick have not played very well in like his tenure. That's a bit of a concern right there. And I don't know. I feel really confident that Miami is going to come out in full force. So I'm really interested to see this game. This is my must-watch game for week 1.
Mike?
Miami by at least 3 possessions.
It's a little foul, but
That
okay.
is very foul.
I also agree.
My must-watch is the Green Bay Packers and Minnesota Vikings. This, showing mad love to the Minnesota Vikings, having them as my division winners of the NFC North, also winning the NFC. I think this is the game that really kind of puts people on notice, saying, okay, with Green Bay, they have Aaron Rodgers, right? Back-to-back MVP, and the defense that the Green Bay Packers are. I think Miami is going to take this one and really turn some heads early in the season, and people are going to be put on notice by this Minnesota Vikings team. But you can say all that about Minnesota. You also got to show love to Green Bay. As long as they got Aaron Rodgers, I can't bet against them, and that defense is as good as it's been in I don't even know how long. So that's definitely going to be a good one to start off week 1 of the NFL season in a this division rivalry to get the feet warm, if you will.
Okay, I'm just gonna jump in. We're gonna disregard that the comment there. But my pick is the Raiders and Chargers on Sunday. This is sort of going to be a preface to what we're going to be expecting in the AFC West this season. These are both 2 squads that have significantly upgraded on the defensive side of the ball, and they also have got a lot of weapons on offense. And to be quite frank, I honestly think this is going to be a shootout of a game. It's going to come down to Derek Carr and Devontae Adams versus Justin Herbert and all of the weapons that the Chargers possess. It's going to be back and forth. And I honestly don't know who's going to win, but this is going to be a very good game. I think both of these squads are going to put the AFC as a whole on notice on who is in charge of those wild card spots. But I think this is going to be a good start to what the AFC West is expecting this season.
And if you guys are wondering, Brett really, really wanted to pick the Monday night game, which was Denver and Seattle, his first and third favorite team in the league. But
Third favorite team?
They have Drew Lock. You follow it. It's Denver, then Pittsburgh, then Seattle. We said, Brett, you have to leave your bias at the door. And he said, all right, I'll pick another one. But just know that's secretly Brett's game of the week for week 1.
Drew Pop and Lock. Jeez. My God.
He's going to get excited watching Drew, get the water going for Gino.
Left bench. Poor Drew.
We'll just point and laugh. Like, that's pretty bad.
Yeah, shout out Vic Michaels, too.
All right.
We love Vic.
We do love Vic. Without further ado, it is time for our MVP award. This will be a fun one. If we go around all 3, I have a very strong feeling we're going to be varying opinions here on who the MVP this season is going to be. I'm going to give this one to Mike to start out.
I'm going to give this one to Brett to start off with.
I agree with Ben.
Okay. All right. So 2 against 1.
How about let's say it on 3? No, go ahead.
That's rude. Mike.
You had who?
I have Jalen Hurts winning MVP this year.
You gonna explain?
Yeah,
talk us through it.
I'm just letting it settle first. I thought, I don't know. With this,
shout out Rob, bro.
Just to preface, I'm very high on the Eagles this season, just because of the amount.
I'm laughing at Rob. Sorry. We got to meet though.
Jalen Hurts, my MVP pick. Because of the improvement that we've seen Jalen Hurts go from, not only in year one, but what we've heard out of camp this season with the pairings of newly acquired A.J. Brown, second-year former Heisman winner Devonta Smith. You have Quez Watkins, and you added Jalen, or you let go of Jalen Reagor. Excuse me. He's now in Minnesota. Totally blanked on that for a
Wide
second.
receiver 4.
Yeah, no bueno for Jalen Reagor there. But moving back on track, if you look at Jalen Hurts' track record last year, sort of really worked in the pass style offense that Nick Sirianni was working for him. You bolstered up the offensive line a little bit more this past offseason. He's working under one of the best offensive lines in the league. You now add A.J. Brown and Devonta Smith as a combo, plus a defense that it may not be the best, one of the best in the division, but it's certainly going to put you in contention to win a lot of football games. I like the offensive packages they're going to be using for the Eagles this season. And honestly, altogether, I think it's going to allow Jalen Hurts to really unleash some of the potential we haven't seen before. So, with that and what I alluded to in the NFC season preview, I think he's winning MVP. I think we see 5,000 yards, maybe more out of Hurts. And I don't know. This could be a really good pick, or this could be a really bad pick. It all depends on how the Eagles as a whole pan out.
The 5,000 yards is like the kicker for me because like
that'd make him like top 3 in
Stafford and Brady. I'm pretty sure were the only ones with 5,000 yards last year. Or Stafford and Herbert.
I've got a lot of high expectations for Jalen Hurts to stay with me. So
you can say that again.
Again, this shouldn't come as any surprise if you have been following the podcast. I have Justin Herbert winning MVP, second in the league in passing yards last season, third in passing touchdowns, upgraded offensive line, another year of Keenan Allen, another year of Mike Williams after he kind of broke out, kind of technically last season. And I think Josh Palmer is going to be the real breakout receiver 3 on the Chargers offense this year. You have Austin Eckler. You have a little power back behind him in Sony Michel. And with all the things considered, when you take my record prediction into consideration, having them winning the AFC West and being a top 3 seed, I believe that I had them at. I mean, I feel like it's only a matter of time before Justin Herbert gets an MVP under his belt, honestly. I just think they need that record, and his stats basically argue the rest of his case for him. So I got Jay Herbs. Jay Herbs is my MVP. I also had Lamar Jackson as a runner-up. Hi, Ben.
This one's really interesting because the names that I were considering, including the guy I won, aside from Herbert, have not been mentioned thus far. It was kind of the more predictable guys, Josh Allen, Patrick Mahomes, who I think without Tyreek Hill is going to be more considered of a valuable player to the Chiefs this year. Russell Wilson, who was very close to winning it for me. But I'm going with Joe Burrow. Joe Burrow, I mentioned this with my Bengals pick. He is now 2 years fully removed from his ACL tear. He is going to be working with the best offensive line that he has had in his NFL career. He has a very solid run game with Joe Mixon, which I honestly think is an underrated part to a quarterback winning the MVP award. Like, if they have a solid run game behind them, that makes it so much easier for them to kind of let the ball rip, like we've seen from previous MVPs the past few years at least, especially with Rodgers. And Joe Burrow was a top 3 MVP candidate, at least in my opinion, last year. So him making that leap from like top 3, top 5 to winning the MVP this year, I don't think it's too stark. I think the Bengals are going to pass more than they did last year just because they are able to protect Joe Burrow in the pocket much better. So he'll have more time to throw. He'll also be able to move around more in the pocket just because his leg is feeling that much better from his ACL recovery. I don't know. I feel a lot of confidence in this Bengals team. Obviously so. I had them winning the division and being the number 1 seed in the AFC. And kind of subsequent to that, I think Joe Burrow is going to have a really phenomenal year. He threw over 70% completion this past year. I don't know if he's able to do that again, but if that number goes down, I think his passing yards goes up, maybe close to that 5,000 number. I don't know, but I think he'll be able to throw for 35 to 40 touchdowns. I have a lot of confidence in this Bengals team, and with that, Joe Burrow winning the MVP.
Honestly, solid pick. And I fully believe that Burrow is going to put up a good contention. Just to preface, I had Lamar Jackson as my runner-up. I am also on the big bias that Lamar Jackson's going to have a revenge tour this year, coming off of injury. And I just love the weapons that he has around him. Even though you take out Hollywood Brown, I think you're going to see a big step by Rashad Bateman, plus the run game with J.K. Dobbins back.
And
Gus Edwards.
And
Mark Andrews.
And
Isaiah Likely.
Boom, there we go.
I think he's going to be used as a big wide receiver.
And James Prochet.
Well, and Devin Duvernay, and we can keep going.
I think he's their number 2 receiver on the depth chart. Duvernay is.
I believe so.
And they said in a report today, Likely is going to be the 3rd target. So all tight ends for Lamar.
As he should.
Yeah.
You remember the last time he had the 3 tight end set, he won MVP.
All right, so that ends our MVP picks. I have taken Jalen Hurts. Mike takes Justin Herbert, and Ben takes Joe Burrow. It officially wraps up our basically preseason award show here on the 3 and Out podcast.
Yeah.
We've gone through MVP, Offensive and Defensive Player of the Years, Offensive and Defensive Rookie of the Years, Comeback Player, Coach of the Year, Most Surprising Team, Most Disappointing Team, Most Improved Player, Most Improved Team, and the must-watch game for Week 1. A lot of stuff we've covered this week. And honestly, it'll be interesting to see how it pans out before our midseason awards, probably approaching about the Week 8, Week 9 mark of the season. Yeah. But that wraps it up here on the 3 and Out podcast. Enjoy kickoff on Thursday, which as of this recording, it'll be tomorrow. So enjoy the Bills and Rams game. Signing off for now, Ben Pope, Mike Cicchetti. My name is Brett Schaubs. Take care. Brush air.